everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the show. We got David Bray in the studio. Again, thank goodness. Great co-host. It's March 22nd, 2021. It's postseason.
I think it's March 2nd.
What did I say, 22nd?
Yeah.
Wow, 20 days early. Yeah, it is March 2nd. Okay, let's do it again.
Welcome
to the show,
by
everybody.
the 22nd, we're going to have so much wrestling behind us, and we got so much to look forward to.
Will be over. NCAA champions will be over.
Yeah.
Mateo Pelicon will be over. Women's, all kinds of stuff. But we're going to stick with the conference tournaments for now. SoCon just finished up, and I tell you, it's the three-peat for the Camels.
Yeah, new coaching staff. A lot of the coaching staff is new, right? Scotty Cinta is still there, but new coaching staff, but same results. Third straight conference title.
Yeah, and one of the new coaches, Wynn Michalak, is our guest today. Let's bring him on. Three-time All-American at Central Michigan. Wynn, how you doing today?
Good. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. First of all, I guess congratulations on winning the SoCon again. Man, this was, you said, I think 6 months ago you got the job, or 6 months ago you moved. When Scotty contacted you, what did you think initially? You were at Michigan State, and they're building, they're in a rebuilding phase and on the right track. Was it a no-brainer, or did you take some time to hesitate and think if you wanted to make the move down to Campbell?
No, man, I had to think it through. Scotty's, very persuasive guy, but leaving the Big Ten, in the middle of a pandemic, to a small school, never been down to Boys Creek ever, and really having to make the choice without coming down and visiting or having an interview down here. Everything was done via Zoom, and just getting the buy-in from my family, my wife and my kids, and getting down here was a whole nother story. But yeah, it was a couple week process that we tried to move along pretty quickly. And yeah, it worked out. I'm happy to be here. Glad to see Michigan State still doing really well, but being in Boys Creek it feels like home already.
All right. Well, you said Scotty's persuasive, but aside from that, like, the experience level was not much, right? I think he was at Cal Poly for a while, and he was an assistant at Campbell, but he didn't have any head coaching experience, and without maybe digging deep, it'd be like, well, what does Scotty Cintas know about running a program? That's not a knock on Scotty. That's just like what the perception may have been. But I don't know. You said he's persuasive, right? So what was it? What was his pitch? How did he sell you and talk you into bringing it down, coming down?
Yeah, I mean, he talked about how he got the job, and just stuff he had learned from being at Cal Poly, then being at Campbell under Coach Colat, and kind of moving forward from there. I think he's got great experience recruiting wise, and obviously he's got love from his guys here. Keeping almost everybody that he had on the team here. Guys stayed with him. And that was really, really motivating for such a small school to see guys just really buy in. And knowing that the school is a good school, kids come down here. There's not a whole lot of distractions because it's such a small school. And guys come down here to go to school and wrestle. And, I really bought into that. It's the kind of program I want to be around. And, yeah, he just really talked me into it. Like I said, I didn't get to come down here or see the university except virtually. In the process, and just made the decision and bought all in.
Yeah. You got hired, I believe, in April, but you said you didn't move down till August. What was your, and probably physical contact or in-person contact wasn't going to be a thing with the kids anyways, but what was your experience like, and what were, how Zooms, how much did you get to meet the team, et cetera, and get to know the guys, and any other ways?
I think we did like a Zoom call a week with the team. They had some end of the year stuff that they still did, from like a little team joke roast to having a couple guest speakers come on and talk to the team. Got to be involved with that. I got on a lot of phone calls and just started talking to guys, talked to a few parents, kind of hit the recruiting a little bit, calling some guys right away that Scotty had been on, or talking to Cole Reese, trying to get him to recommit as he decommitted when Coach Colat left. But we jumped in feet running, even though I was still stuck in Michigan because of their closed down, up there was pretty strict when it first happened. And I didn't leave the house a whole lot, but did get to did end up down here in August after I got hired in April. So it's been a long process. Getting to know the guys has been very difficult, just because of all the COVID restrictions, even once we were down here. So it's been a weird year, but pretty enjoyable.
Okay, one thing you just said stuck out to me: the joke roast. That's the thing that caught my attention, because I can imagine you can have as many talks and serious talks and motivational talks and this, that, but like, I don't know, to me a joke roast like breaks the ice. It's like I could dig on him, he could dig on me. What's the joke roast? I can kind of imagine what it was, but how did it go? Explain it to me a little bit.
Well, it's kind of a tradition that they have down here where the outgoing seniors get roasted by the rest of the team. And I didn't really know what to expect. We got on this call, and some of the guys just had little scripts of inside jokes, mostly that they gave to the seniors. But then, a couple of them tried to throw Daryl and I in there too, and got on us about little things that they'd seen on Twitter or Instagram from our past. And it was pretty funny. Definitely a new experience. Not not what I expected at all. So, but it was fun. It was definitely opening us up and not making it so coach, athlete, official as you would think when you don't know anybody.
Yeah. Can you give us any examples of maybe ways they roasted you or things they'd seen on Twitter or whatever, right? Like perceptions, or if you don't want to share it, that's fine.
The only one that I remember is something on my Twitter or Instagram said like puppy dad or something like that. And I didn't even remember it was still there. I know. So yeah, I want to say one of the guys brought that up, and I don't even remember what the whole joke was, but it was based around that. So
all right, that's pretty solid. So you got there in August. I don't know, when did you get to have meetings with them, like in the same room, and then when did you get to like get on the mat, and was it the whole team at once, or were you guys split up?
No, we've been split up. We've been split up the entire year. We've done a couple different formats because of COVID, but we first started with guys that could come back. They only let us bring about half the team back right at the beginning. I don't know, mid-August, for like 2 weeks before school started. They let us bring like half the team back. They all had to get tested before we could be in any contact with them, and then we had a meeting with them, and that was all based on like roommates. Mm-hmm. So some guys got left out because they lived with some people and they couldn't get back. So if someone couldn't come back and their roommate could, we pretty much didn't let them back. It was only roommates that could come back at the same time. And that's how the groups were set up for probably about a month and a half, just based on those. That first group that came back was in a group, and then that second group that came back when school started was in a group. And then, I don't know, maybe a couple months into school, we switched it to having a big guy and a little guy group, so that partners were a little bit better. We had more options week to week. We'd change partners every week. They'd stay with the same guy. And then once we got to like Thanksgiving, some of the guys went home for Thanksgiving break and Christmas break, because we didn't have classes after Thanksgiving. So some of the guys went home for that break, and the guys that stayed here, again, was based on housing and our starting lineup, or who we thought was going to be in our starting lineup. So we had about 25 guys that were here over break based on their housing situation and if they're in the starting lineup. And that's pretty much how it's been, those two groups since Thanksgiving, which is pretty stale. Both groups don't get as many training partners as we'd hope based on injury and these training groups. But that's been the challenges we have. But the school, sticking with that, Campbell's been pretty good about letting us continue to train.
It's been two groups the whole time, right? Or
the entire time.
So
two practices.
You're, as a coach, you're structuring two different practices, and I don't know, what are the pros and cons? Maybe the pros are you can focus a little bit more with the lightweights and the heavyweights versus the whole team, but the con is you got to structure two practices every day, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we have to structure two practices. We're here as a coaching staff. We're here from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. most nights. Sometimes we rotate a little bit, let one of us go home and not stay for later practice. But yeah, it's two practices, especially right now when we got guys that aren't training for SoCon and NCAAs, and we have the other group. One is training for peaking for the postseason, and the other group right now is kind of in limbo and doesn't have a whole lot to train for. So practice formats and technique and everything is completely different.
You know, Kerry Colott kind of helped put Campbell on the mat, right? And he's got a big name.
Yeah.
And he's done so many things. Was there, and maybe this was before you got there, but was there a sense of like trying to have to like overcome that? Like, this isn't the Kerry Colott program. This is Campbell, guys. And we're a developing program, and we're growing and getting better. And it's like, was there a struggle at all to make that the identity? Or to like, okay, don't worry about Kerry. Like, we're Campbell.
I think, you know, the guys that have been here, which is, you know, over half of our team, you know, has been here with Coach Colott and the way he ran things, the way that staff ran things. And we run things a little bit different. But one of the things that he set up in the program was the expectations, you know, the expectations to win, the expectations to, you know, get your education at a high level, compete in wrestling at a high level, train hard. Those expectations are already set, and we're not changing any of them. So that was something that he built into this program that we're sticking with. Maybe our training philosophies are a little different at times, but he did a great job setting the foundation for Campbell wrestling here in Buies Creek and around the country now. And we're not changing a whole lot, but we do have our own way to do stuff. We're a young staff, and we just have different experiences.
Can you share any of those differences? Like the expectation, that's great. The expectation's set and it's here. But you said we do some things differently. Are there any examples that come to mind of things you can share with us?
I think, you know, as a staff, we kind of take cutting weight a little bit differently than the way Coach Colott did. He, you know, when it came down to competition time, a lot of the older guys just prefer to like jump on a bike, kind of stay off the mat the night before, that kind of stuff. And as a staff, we were them getting a workout in on the mat and trying to cut most of their weight on the mat rather than doing it on a bike. So I think that's one thing that has changed a little bit, but if it works for a guy, we're not going to change them too much, you know? So some of the older guys like that, and some of the younger guys, you know, have really taken to us getting workouts in, getting a drill in on the mat, trying to lose that weight that way, and then getting a good meal in that night before.
Everybody loves a good meal before a match. As far as the season, right? Once you started competing, how many times did you at all? How many, if at all, breaks did you have? Like teams pause, we got COVID, or we're traced, or this or that, we're out of the room. Did that happen to you guys at all or often?
Yeah, you know, we had a hit where we got like 11 guys, I think, tested positive, and it started with one guy and then ran through roommates, right? In one group. And since that in the fall, we have had, gosh, I want to say like 2 positive tests with very, very limited contact traces. You know, we get guys out of there, whether they've been contact traced or test positive, and we haven't had it run rampant through the team again. Training wise has been pretty consistent. We did have, you know, a couple pauses. I think we paused the team for a week and a half in the fall, where everybody was just, you know, lifting and conditioning, definitely off the mat. But since then, we haven't had any glaring pauses where we have to stop activities.
Awesome.
You know, you talk about the transition and, you know, kind of making sure that you maintain buy-in, and it sounded like Scotty already had that even before you guys were part of the staff. But I mean, it was easy to see just in how your guys executed in some really critical competitions that buy-in exists. And what, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind before even like thinking about the SoCon tournament is you guys had the conference dual meet championship on the line in a pretty crazy duel with Chattanooga at the end of the season. Talk about that duel, because I mean, you guys, you had to win the last 4 to win the duel?
Yeah. They went in, they wrestled really hard. You know, matchup wise, we knew it was gonna be a really close duel, and they've done it to us before in the past. Before I got here, where they came in, we beat App in a very, very similar duel to the Chattanooga one. But you know, our upper weights, we just, you know, no matter what, you know, that momentum was definitely not in our favor. I went back and just had a talk with our upper weights, like, hey, This doesn't matter. We just do your job, win your match. Don't try and do anything out of the ordinary. Just go and win your match, and the rest will take care of itself. And our guys, they bought in. They trusted what we were doing. They trusted their own preparation. And when they hit the ground running in their matches, things did take care of themselves. Against Chattanooga, Austin Murphy goes out there and gets to his offense early, and then just locks up a cradle, kind of catches the kid sleeping on his belly and locks up a cradle and gets the fall for our bonus points that we really needed to win that duel. And then 84-97 heavyweight just followed suit. You get a big bonus win like that, and people kind of fall into line and do what they're supposed to do. We end up completing the comeback, but it was hearts were thumping, and nerves were on edge. So it definitely it came down to them, and they did a great job keeping their nerves in check.
You guys have a team that you guys kind of wear your emotions on your sleeve a little bit, and that came out in that duel.
Yeah.
I think there was even one or two team points the ref took away, which I think is the stupidest rule ever. But what's that been like? Coaching a team with guys that are so fired up for their own matches before each other too.
Yeah, we definitely have to try and get guys warming up in the back. It's something that we learned early is at Virginia Tech, is getting guys away from being fans, because they wear themselves out. So we started having guys warm up in the back where they couldn't see, coming and talking to them when we could, that kind of thing, where it kind of keeps their adrenaline in check until they need it. But there's no keeping these this brotherhood away from each other or away from supporting each other. It's just keeping them concentrating on their job at hand.
And then obviously the SoCon tournament itself was a roller coaster. We were talking about that a little bit before we got rolling today, and talk about that. Explain kind of to people that maybe didn't see how it all unfolded. I mean, just how dicey did the tournament feel heading into that last round?
Man, going into the finals, I think we were up by 11, and they had just kept cutting it down. We had 8 in the finals and only 2 in the wrestlebacks, and we ended up losing in the consolation semis in both those matches. So we didn't have any more points to win on the backside, and they cut the lead to 11 going into the finals, and we had 5 head-to-head matchups. So we knew we were going to have to win some of those head-to-head matchups, and really we needed to win as many as we could because of national qualifying spots. And we started out 149, 184 in heavyweight going first because of the true second matches, and Josh lost a real tight one there with Milner, and then Caleb Hopkins kind of stopped that momentum. But then we got on a losing streak. We definitely got on a losing streak, got down to the last 2 matches at 174 and 197. And, I walked back there and told those guys we've been here all year. Murphy's been the guy that started our comebacks in the 2 duels against App and Chat. We've been here all year, and we just got to go out and do our job again. And he really, he did that for sure.
So you guys end up winning by 5 points. I mean, if you don't have those,
yeah,
if you don't have that, especially, that was the last one a head-to-head matchup, 97?
No.
Okay.
74 was a head-to-head, and then at 97 we wrestled Logan Andrews from Chattanooga.
Okay.
And but if Murphy, if he loses that match, we were down by 1 going into 174, and if he loses that match, we're down by 4, and we're looking for bonus points to even get a tie. So it was a real key match to make sure that we sealed that team victory.
What was the team? He spoke of, the guys that get excited during a duel. I can only imagine what were they like during the finals that these last 2, the second to last one's head to head. Were they just going bonkers?
Yeah. When Murphy threw him to his back, I mean, I think we were all going nuts, hoping for that fall. And I don't want to say the ref missed it, but I thought he was pinned. But it was good that we continued to wrestle, continued to score points in that match. And I know, I think a huge sigh of relief from all of our fans and our team kind of after that match. But we were still focused on that on that 197 match, getting Chris Colbert to win his second SoCon title and qualify for nationals again. So it was very exciting.
I bet. To that excitement, or maybe you've experienced multiple conference tournaments, right? You wrestled at Central Michigan in the MAC, which is like a mid level. You've been in the Big Ten, which is conference wise about as big as it gets, and the SoCon's like a smaller conference, right? With as far as how many wrestlers are going to qualify and whatnot. Can you compare and contrast the similarities and or differences among those three conferences and the three basically tiers of conferences that you've experienced?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say when I was in the MAC, it was very similar to what the SoCon is now, as we only had 6 teams. We had more qualifying spots. I think we had 19 qualifying spots in the old system that they had set up. So the only guaranteed spots were, the conference champs, which is what we see here in the SoCon now. And then the other 9 were all voted on by the coaches after the tournament. It wasn't just the second place guy and one person was left out. It was actually voted on who could make the stand, who the coaches in the conference thought could make it to the stand at nationals. But then getting into the Big Ten, I mean, it's a whole different battle with, 14 guys that are really, almost always top 25, top 33 guys when they're that tough. You got 76 qualifying spots, getting key victories and seeds, being a certain seed can be very important. I think the Big Ten's sometimes considered as tough as the national tournament because it's just every match is so competitive and everybody so well. But it's the same thing down here in the SoCon. We know each other so well that anything can happen. You look at 165 pounds where you got 4 ranked guys and our guy Austin Kreiser, who has been ranked and just had some injuries this year that kept him out of the rankings. And, you got 1 spot for 5 guys that could deserve to go to the NCAA tournament. So yeah, it's been one of those things in the SoCon where every match is going to be close. You just have to separate yourself. Big Ten, every match is going to be close. It's just the number of qualifying spots. The room for error in the SoCon is very, very minuscule, where a small error in the Big Ten, you can still come back and maybe fix it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is winning a conference, obviously winning a conference title is important. Is it a point of emphasis with the team back in August when you show up or September, December? Is it something you guys talk about, or is it something you don't really address until, February, March?
I think there's talk about it. We try not to talk about winning it previously because last year and the year before was that. So we talk about year to year and what we can do to be the best in the country, not just the best in our conference. The conference is a way, a stepping stone to get there. But if you're just looking to be a SoCon champ and you fall short of that, then you're not even going to nationals, where if you want to be a national champ and maybe you fall short of that, you're still an All-American. You win the SoCon because it's something that the NCAA tells you you have to do to go to nationals and win that national championship. It's not something that is our ultimate goal. And keeping this with bigger goals than that, I think, keeps them level-headed and training and just competing to where every match is the same. We don't go out like someone's not as good as someone else. We just go out to look to dominate, score points, and let the cards fall as they will.
Yeah. And another point to this weird season, the conference schedule, right? You guys are wrestling usually it's Pac-12s and then everybody else, and then a week off in nationals. You guys wrestled a week prior with a lot of other conferences. Would you like to see that in the future? And maybe next year you put more on the second week, so it's kind of more even. But do you like that, having the conference weekend kind of split up instead of having everybody but the Pac-12s on one weekend?
I'm not sure. I'll probably let you know at the end of the year how we finish out. But right now I think that decision for the conferences that did it this weekend was based on protocols in case anybody contact traces or God forbid test positive and has to go through COVID. But I think for us in a conference, it was best to do it 3 weeks because of most of our protocols, require, about 20 days before you can be back on the mat. And I really think that we're not going to know competitively and performance-wise whether this is a choice until, we get through the NCAA tournament. I think for fans, it's great. You get to see a little bit more wrestling. You're not trying to watch 7 conferences all on the same weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I personally, I enjoy it. And then to the season not starting till January, and we've had this discussion with other coaches, and I'm sure it's a discussion that's been going around for years. But I guess even for you as a competitor, right? When you were in college, probably, I don't know, start doing something in September or October, whether it's preseason or even preseason workouts, and then you go through March. That's most of your school year. What do you think about the idea of making it, moving forward, it starts in January and ends in April or something thereabout? Would you be in favor of a shortened season? And if so, why or why not?
Yeah, I think I'm in favor of like a 1-semester season. I don't know how much shorter it would actually be. If we started practices in December and competitions in January and finished in April, it's still 5 months. But it's definitely something academically I think would be good for our sport. I think it'd create a little bit more balance having, some breaks in there, not having to, learn how to compete coming out of high school in November, 2 months into your college career. But, I think this year's really unique since there's no opens. There's very little matches. It was really hard for some of those guys that didn't get to compete this year with a shortened season. I think health-wise, I think it's great for the athletes to have this. You don't have much time in September to really build a great base going into the season and hit the ground running like we would like to with coaches. So I think health-wise, it would let us build conditioning and strength at a college level for some of those guys coming off, might not have had a great summer, or maybe they're coming off an injury over the summer. It allows us to really build their strength and their conditioning and probably avoid more injuries throughout the season if we did start later. But I don't know how much I like a shorter season. I don't think there is enough of a pool of standards for postseason.
Sure.
Not to mention having other guys compete. Guys on the team, you come to college and get on a Division I wrestling team, you want to wrestle. You don't want to sit around and practice for an entire year. And now it's going to be 2 years for a lot of our guys before they compete in a tournament. So shortened season, yeah, maybe it would be good for some health reasons and stuff like that. But, for our sport, I think having, a 4 to 5 month season is ideal so that everybody gets a chance to wrestle, even if you don't start your starters until maybe later.
Yeah, you mentioned not having enough like matches to really get good data for allocations, and I mean, it impacted each conference differently. We had Pat Santori on yesterday, and like for the EIWA, it was great because they kept the data despite not having 7 teams in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys feel like that? That way, that like method of assigning allocations impacted you this year. I mean, obviously it was like, what are we going to do? I mean, I don't know that there was a great option, but how did that impact you guys this year?
I think it impacted us quite a bit just because I think that there's some guys that are going to get left out, not only in the SoCon, but all over the country based on historical data. The MAC doesn't get some of the spots that the EWL previously had, and us. I mean, we're just a small conference. We don't get very many anyway, but we do. There's weights like I mentioned. 165 has 4 guys ranked in the coaches poll, and 184 has 4 guys ranked in the coaches poll. 25 has 3 guys ranked. Like there's just spots without having the rest of the country being able to see what the SoCon has this year. And you got 125, 165 that have one bid when 3-4 guys deserve to go is a shame. But obviously for the EIWA it worked out. I don't think it was ideal. I don't know if there's an ideal way to do it this year without historical data, but I feel like we could have done a better job.
Yeah.
I don't know, just the unusualness even of not having fans, right? Did you guys have fans, limited fans at dual meets or none?
We only had one home meet here, and we were not allowed to have any fans.
Yeah.
We actually had someone show up in like a janitor's uniform and try and like sneak into a janitor, but
Come
I had to
on.
kick him out.
I mean, I kind of
Hey,
I appreciate
We got some
his effort.
diehard fans,
You gotta
Yeah.
respect the hustle.
right?
Yeah.
We got some diehard fans. But going to VMI, we got to have a limited number of fans there, which was nice. We took some seniors and got them some extra matches that weren't in the starting lineup. Then going to Citadel, they had limited number of fans, and then Chattanooga let us have it was limited. Like everything was very limited, so not having fans really plays into the environment. But it's what do you do? I mean, there's not an answer for this pandemic, and I think it was just a benefit to be able to wrestle those matches anyway. I think everybody did a great job being able to broadcast and stream the events anyway. So keeping our fans in touch through streaming, wonderful that we have that technology now, because I think it really could have hurt our sport if we didn't have that, allowing fans to at least watch online because they couldn't be there in person.
I'm sorry, I can't get over this guy. Did he have like a giant ring of keys off his hip and like a one-piece jumper?
I was just told after the duel. I didn't get to see
Okay.
it because I was working with our guys, but yeah, I think he just had like a uniform on. We're such a small school.
tag.
We know who's who should be there and who shouldn't.
I might try that one.
It's not a bad
I
idea.
have to. But okay, as a guy, you've been to the NCAAs as a competitor, multiple times and done well. But just describe the experience of, from your perspective, 10, 15, 20,000 fans. Maybe going nuts for you, maybe going nuts for somebody else, but feeling that environment and like trying to peel away the fans and imagine that, and would it have made much of it? I mean, not that it's going to affect the outcome, but there's an energy with 15,000 people going nuts, cheering, booing, this, that, and the other. I don't know. Try to compare the two.
I definitely I think it could definitely affect the outcome. I mean, having people in your corner, especially being from a small school, wrestling a big school, sometimes you get, the entire country except the school you're wrestling rooting for you. So I think that not having fans at the NCAA tournament is going to be a huge change. I hope our guys can focus and not let silence really affect them. But, I loved having the fans, whether they're cheering for me or cheering against me. It's all motivating. You want to prove yourself. You got fans backing you, or got someone cheering against you, booing you, who doesn't want you to win, and you want to prove them wrong. So I do think it's going to have an effect in matches. I don't know how much, but at least our guys get to wrestle.
Yeah,
I think that's what we came for, and we've got a little taste of what silence is going to be like. So hopefully they're good. We got a lot of guys that are going to be first time qualifiers, and so we'll see how they adjust.
Can you remember an instance from your career when at nationals when you either heard the crowd cheering for or against you, or maybe you were wrestling and there was an upset or a big match going on somewhere else, and you just probably won't take you out of your element, but it's probably something you just noticed?
Yeah, I don't think it ever took me out of my element, but I do just remember hearing our fans. Being from Central Michigan, I don't know why I heard our fans specifically. Maybe they're just loud and rowdy and made themselves heard during my matches. But for some reason, I always found a way to hear our fans, my family, cheering us on, jumping up and down, just rooting us on whenever they could, even though we, only had 50, 60 fans there because we were such a small school. That's what I remember most about the fans. For the most part, I guess I just blocked out any other things. You hear it, but I think you're on task.
So I wanted to ask you about something you guys did this year. Obviously, there's the extra year of eligibility for athletes. This one didn't count, and a lot of programs around the country. They're just, I think, a lot of questions: who's going to come back, who won't. You guys did something like very publicly to raise. You used like a capital campaign, like, hey, let's raise money to fund the aid to keep these guys around for this extra year. What went into, deciding to raise those funds that way? And, like, what were the conversations like with the athletes? And then, what was the response like for you guys?
I think we have a huge support from our fans and our alumni, our parents, and something that Coach Colat did when he got here with Garrett Kiley being here before, and then Scotty carrying it on. The program has always done a really good job fundraising, bringing people in, keeping people engaged to our program, and we just when they said that we could have our seniors for another year, we went to our administration and they basically said that they're not going to give us any extra scholarship money. We're going to have to figure it out on our own. And we love our seniors. We use it as a recruiting tool when we talk to guys that we want to come, is we take care of guys that we have. We take care of our own before we start spending money on bringing new guys in. And so we want to take care of our own. So it was very important to us to really push that out. Our alumni and our donors bought in a very, very big way. And we just, used some legwork and got creative with social media to really push on the foundation that Coach Colat put here in fundraising. And we set a really high goal. I think our administration actually asked us if we wanted to publish, our $100,000 fundraising goal, or if we wanted to put it smaller so that we could achieve it. And, like we said, we want to be national champs. We don't want to set the bar too low. So if we didn't reach it, then we had something more to work for. But I know as a coaching staff, I was up until after midnight just trying to get every extra little text, call, small donation that I could get to reach that 100,000. I think with like 10 minutes left, we had to raise like $2,000 or something like that. And so we were up late just trying to get that final push. I think we ended up with like 103,000 for our giving day. So it was definitely a foundation that was already there. We just expanded on it, and we knew the importance to try and keep our seniors around.
Awesome. And one more question before we got Tariq. He's going to be on here in just a second, but one more question, and it has to do with money and North Carolina. You told us the story right before you came on. We went live. Basically, you moved down to Buies Creek, and give me the story about there's some stranger cutting you a check for $1,000 or whatever it was.
Oh, so we came down. My wife and I took the job sight unseen. Had never been to Buies Creek, had never been to Campbell. Just talking to Scotty, decided that I want to buy in, be part of this program. And so I don't even remember when it was, but I want to say it was in like May. We came down to look for houses. We stayed with Scotty and his family. We went around for 2 days looking for houses, and we found a house. And we wanted to put an offer on it, but it had to be a contingent offer, and so they wouldn't take it right away. So at like 8 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night, they called us and said, all right, we talked to our boss. We'll take your contingent offer if you can bring your due diligence over with a check. So I started looking for my checkbook, and I left it in Michigan. So I didn't have the cash on me to go and get like a money order or anything like that. Scotty said he didn't have a checkbook. We didn't know anybody else down here at the time. So Scotty called one of our donors that own a restaurant here in Buies Creek, and I'd never met him before. He's like, call this number, here's their address. So I called them, and they didn't answer. And so I drove up to the address, still couldn't get a hold of them. I actually walked up to their door, knocked on the door, and said, hey, I'm Wynn. I'm the new associate head coach. Scotty told me to contact you. We want to put an offer on a house, but I left my checkbook at home. He said that you might be willing to help me write a check so I can put an offer on this house. And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. I said, can I Venmo you the money? And they're like, yeah, what's Venmo? And so we had to help them set up a Venmo account, Venmoed them $1,000, and they wrote a check that we used to put an offer down on a house. But it's just that Southern hospitality of, I've never met you. I walked up to your front door and asked you to write me a check. So that I could come and be part of this community. And they jumped all in. They were fantastic. They're fantastic to this day. Offer to watch our kids, babysit our kids if we need anything. And I'm super, super thankful that they did that, because we love our house and we love being in Buies Creek.
Awesome. That's a fantastic story. And I want you to hold on for just a second. We got Tariq Wilson. He's going to join us now. And Tariq, how you doing? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. We're just finishing up with Wynn Michalak, associate head coach at Campbell, also in North Carolina. And we got a little game we like to play where we have a couple guests on, the overlapping question. We're going to give each of you the opportunity to ask the other one a question. And since we've been rolling with you, Wynn, we'll let you go first. If you got a question for Tariq, go ahead.
Hey, Tariq. How's it going, man? Good, good. Congrats on this weekend and the season so far. Hey, man, being an older upperclassman in your program, how have you helped your underclassmen adjust to this COVID season with everything being completely different? Not a normal year to be a leader. So how have you brought those upperclassmen along, even though they haven't had the chance to compete as much?
It's been difficult, especially with this time, but I try to tell the guys to stay focused. Just do what you can, stuff that you can control. Be safe. If you go out, wear a mask. But that's what really I've been saying. Is just we only have a short season. The times are different, and you don't know what's going to happen. So while you're in this moment, live it up. Do what you can and enjoy the moment because you don't know tomorrow you might be out with COVID. You just don't know what's going to happen. So just enjoy the time and be in the moment.
Awesome. Great answer,
Awesome,
Tariq.
man.
And Tariq, if you got a question for Wynn, man, we're ready for it.
Yeah, since you said you been down here in North Carolina, what is the thing that you love most about this state?
Oh, man. I think right now the weather. Michigan's got a lot of snow right now, and I think it's the most snow they've had in a while. But so right now the weather, but the Southern hospitality is something that I'm starting to grow to love. The community down here, and just how it's so nice having two really young kids. My wife has really experienced it, just having people help her. So the Southern hospitality and the weather are definitely things about North Carolina right now that I'm just loving.
Awesome. All right, Wynn. Well, we appreciate your time. Congrats again on the SoCon title. And, man, best of luck to you guys in 2.5 weeks at the NCAAs.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you. Yep.
Thanks, Wynn.
Have a great day. And we will continue on with Tariq Wilson. Tariq, I'm going to follow up. What's your favorite thing about North Carolina?
Oh, I definitely would have to agree with the weather, 100%. Since I moved down here, I just fell in love with it. I'm trying to get used to the cold. Whenever I go back home, I'm just like, yeah, I miss North Carolina. I got to go back as soon as possible. This cold weather and being up here is just not. I think North Carolina is maybe kind of soft. I'm not afraid to say it. It's maybe kind of soft, especially with the weather.
All right, fair enough. It's not Steubenville, weather-wise, that's for sure. Okay, I kind of want to get back a little bit. Like 1 year ago, let's say 51 weeks ago or whatever it was, right? You just finished ACCs, you're gearing up for NCAAs, and they're like, boom, done. What do you remember about that conversation? I don't know, Pop or Hall or whoever it was had with the team to kind of let you guys know that, hey, this is your dream for this year is over, and abruptly.
So the conversation that we had, we all gathered as a team, and our athletic commissioner came in and he told us also, he's like, yeah, I'm sorry that, this has happened, but during this time, you guys can't go. It's just not feasible for you guys to go and compete. And I know you guys work so hard and you're at the very tail end of the season, but at that very moment, the room was silent. No one really had any expression. We didn't know what to say. We were just like, oh my, it just hit us so abruptly. And then after everyone started to realize what was going on and have it run through our mind, we were all saddened. Tears came to, I think, the majority of the team's eyes, and we were just so devastated that we couldn't go out and compete at the one tournament that we worked so hard for that whole entire season, and we're looking forward to make our statement and accomplish our goal of going out there and competing and winning.
What did you do? I don't know, later that day or in the coming days? Did you stick around campus? Did you take it back to Ohio?
I stayed here. I stayed with with my roommates, and we just gathered and talked and ate, and basically we were just like real sad, and it was like real moody. It's like when it rains on any particular day and you don't want to do anything. That's how it was for like a couple of days. No one wanted to say anything. No one wanted to talk. We were just all upset. There wasn't really anything that we could do, and we just felt the emotions rush into us for the next 3 days. For me personally, the next 3 days, I didn't want to do anything. Didn't want to talk. Didn't want to be around people. Just wanted to be by myself.
Man. And I think we all kind of thought we'll give it 2 weeks or a month or two, and we'll flatten this curve, and then we'll go on with our lives. Didn't quite play out like that. But what did you do for the coming weeks or months when we're really all just locked down? Like, did you get to train? Did you take some time off, which a lot of wrestlers did? Maybe they hadn't in the past. But what was your spring and summer like?
Spring after I took a couple weeks off and just relaxed, not having to deal with wrestling, and then I went straight back to it. I knew that during this time we were going to have a elongated break, and I can only sharpen my skills and hone my skills. So we travel. I think some of the guys traveled an hour plus to go work out. Since we were down in North Carolina, go to travel 3 times a week to get workout, to do something, to lift, to do something to get in shape and prepare for this upcoming season.
Yeah. The season hits now. Like, you go back and you finally do get to North Carolina, or I mean, you're back in school, I guess, in the fall. Were you guys allowed to kind of like train? I don't know, freely, but when did you get back in the room? We'll start with that. When were you guys allowed back in the NC State room?
I think early January, so maybe 2 month ago, that we were able to actually get back into the room and be able to have our room atmosphere. But during this whole time period, in the beginning of when the school started in August to I think November, we were wrestling at PNC, the basketball, where they play for the basketball team. So we were in there for a couple months, and then we transitioned from out of there to Carmichael, the gymnasium, and we trained there for the rest of the months. And then finally, they gave us the green light to go ahead and train in the wrestling room, which we all loved.
You said it earlier, you guys were traveling like up to an hour to get workouts in. Was there one spot? It was the only place that was open, or were you guys going to like different places to get partners?
We just wrestled with the guys that stayed down here. A lot of guys stayed down in North Carolina, so we would travel in groups, maybe 3-4 cars deep, to go travel at one of the spots that the wrestlers on a team grew up and wrestled at. So he allowed us to opened up his spot and allowed us to come in and work out during a specific time. I think it was 3 to 5, or I think that's what the time was. So we all came in and we had set things that we wanted to work on, set skills, top, bottom, neutral, anything that, could help better or even fine-tune the skills that we already needed. And we also had fun, played games too. We didn't just make it all about, we got to go and work. We wanted to have fun too, since it was summer and we really couldn't do anything. So we played a game every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Were these workouts, were they workouts that you guys just came up with? Were they, were you led by the coaches, or were you guys just kind of directing your own training at this point?
At this point, we came in with our own plan. Every guy worked different things, but we try to keep it very simple to only a set, so not that many guys were doing 2 different things. Some guys will work neutral. I think some guys were working defense a lot. And then there was guys that were working bottom to get out, because they were just off of being what we had prior knowledge of the last season. That's what we just went off of. What we need to work on from last season, since it was abruptly cut for us. And then we thought about it. We wrote things down, and we came up with a plan to do maybe 30 minutes of technique and then do some live also.
In a typical offseason, you probably would have had, freestyle competitions you're getting ready for, and direction from the coaches, whether that's in the room or at RTC practices. What was there any benefit to having to kind of come up with your own plan and like focus on the things personally that you knew you needed to develop?
I'd say one benefit of just being on your own is that you have to be self motivated. This really made you go in and work and want to fine tune your skills. There wasn't someone else pushing you. You had to have your own motivation, and that right there fueled a lot of guys, especially during since we weren't able to train together collectively as a group. So the motivational standpoint of everyone going in and having their mindset of, okay, I'm getting better today, I'm getting better tomorrow, the next day. So that was really the one main benefit of being by ourselves is everyone was self motivated to come in and participate.
Was that a challenge for you or some of the guys on the team, or was it like I was already self motivated and it didn't matter?
For me personally, it wasn't a problem. Like I was already self motivated, but it just fueled me even more than knowing that our season was cut short and I ended the season with a loss. So that right there stuck on my mind for a good while, a few months. That loss. So I was like, okay, I need to get better at this position, this stance, motion, moving my feet. And there was a lot of things I needed to work on, and it was since I had nothing else to do, I couldn't go out, couldn't hang with people. So I was just wrestling was the thing I clung on to.
Was it ever challenging, just in life in general, maybe wrestling aside, to like, I can't go out and be social. I can't see friends. I'm like stuck inside. Did that ever weigh on your mind, or not so much?
Yeah, it definitely weighed on my mind. It was just couldn't be with the group. We would go out, have fun on play volleyball or frisbee or do something as a team together, and that aspect wasn't there of this past summer. So it was really difficult not being around the guys and seeing how they were doing and checking up on them and having that face-to-face interaction. It was more, hey, I'm gonna send a text here this day and send a text there the next day, and it wasn't like it was a different feeling. It wasn't like we were all connected in the building. It was just like, I'm gonna check in on you and I'm gonna check in on you. So, but being around each other does help collectively motivate the group and bring in that team atmosphere that everyone needed.
Sure. Usually by the time you get to January, you've had a lot of training competition first semester, and it's like almost like a little break and go home for Christmas and see the family and get back and get ready to like ramp up for the second half of the season. Not having that first part of the season, was there like an extra excitement to not only get in the room in January and train, but like I can't wait to start competing again and shoot, it's almost like conference nationals time.
Oh, definitely. We as a group started counting down the days. Okay, it was 2 weeks, 7 days, 3 days. Okay, we're at competition. Now we're able to let loose and show all this work that we put in over the last few months that like no one else has ever able to see besides us in the room and wrestling with each other. So we were all excited and couldn't wait to go out there and have fun. And have that atmosphere of just being in a competitive sport and have that competitive mindset.
I've seen some duels at North Carolina State. I'm thinking particularly of the UNC duel I think it was a year ago, where you guys sell out Reynolds, and not having those fans this year, did that impact you at all?
Not really. Our coaches kept reminding us like, hey, this is a different season. You're not going to have that many people in the stands. You probably have 7 people. It's probably going to be quiet, but you still have to go out there with that same mindset as if the arena was packed, it was full, and the fans were screaming. So you have to be focused and have that mindset of, okay, this is time to compete. So turn it on, switch it on, and forget all the outer things all the outer noise and all the other notions that weren't there, and just go focus on that match and be prepared.
Heading into so you last year you talked. I lost my last match of the year, which was the ACC finals, and I believe that's who you faced again in the ACC finals this year. Was that like something that was on your mind since a year ago?
Yeah. So when we wrestled at in our duel against UNC, I reminded myself like you had that feeling of losing and you don't want that again. So this is just this is your time to get revenge in a dual meet, even though it wasn't the ACCs, but it was still something revengeful in that fact. So I was, I was really hyped for that, and then the ACC added another flair of it being at home. Uh, there's fans there, so family came, and just it being the last place I lost, and then now I'm back here again against the same opponent. Now I'm ready to release myself and have fun and go out there and compete and just be ready and focused and have my mindset there.
You really did. I mean, release yourself, right? I mean, it's major decision, really dominant performance. Was it a point of emphasis for you in that match in particular to like put as many points on the board as possible?
I wouldn't say that. I would say it was going into the match. My coaches kept telling me, okay, have a focused mindset. Wrestle a complete 7 matches, means 7 minutes, not 7 matches. Wrestle a complete 7 minutes and just stay focused. Okay, go out there and have fun. Also, like you've been here, you know what you have to do. You're the best that I've seen, and you go out there and show what you've been working all year for.
Yeah.
When you think about the 2018 NCAAs, right? You went on this run. You were like this, and it happens almost every year. There's like a surprise, right? This guy that just kind of blossoms and has an awesome run at the tournament. And you beat. Not only did you go on this run, and I think it was in Ohio, if I'm not mistaken, right? It was in Cleveland. You became a fan favorite, and the same thing happened to Kyle Cannell. And there's like these underdog stories that the crowd gets behind, right? And it was like, okay, he's won a match, he's won two. He's, oh my God, he's in the semis. And overtime, like, did you feel that crowd? Did you feel that energy of people like rooting for you, maybe that who didn't even know you?
Oh, I definitely did. Going back, I can still hear the fans screaming, and when I think about it, it definitely gave me that extra oomph that I needed to go out there and wrestle. I just knew the fans were screaming every time I would step on the mat, and then when I would get off, I would hear, "Let's go, Tariq! That was good. Doing a great job. We're rooting for you." And I was just so happy. I didn't even know what to say. Like there's people that didn't even didn't know me. We were 7 states away, and they were just screaming my name, and I was like, okay, this is fun. This is what I actually like. This is what I'm here for. So let's go out there and just have fun some more.
And have you on the flip side, maybe have you thought about what it would be like? Because like this year and last year before it got canceled, they canceled the fans. Have you thought about, man, I'm not gonna have that, and whether or not anybody gets behind me, nobody can get behind me behind anybody. And I've just kind of to the point of what you had to do this year is like do it on my own, no fans, no, not that they're helping you, but like what you described. Like, have you thought about like it's gonna have to be done without anybody cheering for me?
Yeah, I definitely put that into consideration. Like, hey, there's not gonna be fans to be screaming your name and yelling for you and have that same atmosphere, but it's still when it comes down to it, it's still wrestling. It's still you're at a tournament. You wrestled almost 1,000 tournaments in your lifetime, so you just have to go out there and compete and be prepared for anything. If you're ready and focused for 7 minutes, then no one can beat you, and that's the mindset you got to have going into every match.
Yeah, and obviously it wasn't the fans that gave you that success, right? You had that success, and then people were maybe pouring fuel on the fire, but. What was it about that tournament? Was it just wrestling freely? Was it because you wrestled better than maybe ever have in your life? I don't know, but was there something about that tournament and that experience and the way you felt or approached it that helped you go on that amazing run and then lose and still come back and win two great matches?
I think it was more the weight of just, all right, Trick, you have to go out there and just put up points and have fun. That's what was my mindset going into every match during that my All American run. It was to go out there, have fun, and the outcome is whatever it is. But at least as you're trying to score points and trying to have fun, then you can't complain. And if you win, you win. If you lose, keep your head up and then you wrestle again. So I kept that in consideration, and then my teammates and coaches said, hey, just have fun. Just keep that smile on your face and go score points, and you'll be where you want to be.
To the team, you guys won your third straight ACC title. How important is that? How big are these rivalries in the ACC?
They're big. Even though we're a small conference, only 6 teams, but still, every match is intense. Going against every school. There's always 3-4 matches that get real intense or are close, and you just don't know what's going to happen, and that could be the turning point of the duel. So every team that you go against, you still have to be with the mindset of going out there and competing, because you can't take anyone off because you don't know what will happen. And for the ACC, I think a majority of the teams want to be the top dog, and they have to go after the top dogs, and that's what we have our notion that we're top dogs and people are gunning for us, so we have to be prepared.
Celebrations. Your teammate Trent Hidley, he's an emotional guy, right? He wears it on his sleeve, rocks the guitar, shreds. What's your take on that? And would are you into celebrations very much yourself?
I like him showing emotions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he worked for. It was just a bittersweet win, a revenge win, actually, from last year, and the dual meets. So I love when he goes out there and shows that emotion. It really fires everyone up, and then goes. I know the fans love it. The fans have to love it. Everyone says, raise the roof every time they see Trent. So I definitely am into celebrations. Not too much, but just to show that you care. So I'm not down when people celebrate, nor am I offended when people do celebrate. They're just showing emotions, and people have emotions. So go ahead and celebrate.
If in 2.5 weeks you go to St. Louis and win an NCAA title, what are the chances we could see you raise the roof?
I'm gonna leave that to Trent. That's his signature, so I'm not gonna go ahead and steal that from him. But
Sure.
I don't know what will happen. I don't know what celebration I'll have.
It'll
or
be
if
on the
any.
spot. Sure, I like it.
Yeah, it'll be something I just think of on the fly.
I dig it.
Man, the whole bench, right? Like, you guys have had some incredible moments over the last couple of years, but watching the bench is almost as entertaining sometimes as the action on the mat, because you guys have not just Trent and Hayden are getting fired up, but the whole coaching staff, Pat Pop goes insane. But what's it like being on the bench for some of those epic moments?
It feels that even though you're on the bench, you feel that you're actually in the match while you're watching it. You feel everything. You start moving your legs. You start wrestling okay, I almost had it. Even though you're spectating, but you feel like you're in the match, and so the emotion that the person has from winning, say Trent, you have that emotion too. Okay, I just won just as much as he won, so let's celebrate.
That's awesome.
Who's more emotional, Trent Hidley or Pat Popolizio?
Oh, Trent, definitely. Okay. Trent's definitely the most emotional person on the team when it comes to getting excited and just being there for the guys and just rooting everyone on. So he's definitely top tier. And I think the next person, I would see Jacob Ferreira. He's definitely the second person on the team that gets involved in it and gets emotional too, as if he's just won the match too. So I love those guys when they're on the bench and just rooting for them and rooting with them.
Always entertaining to watch them, for sure. We're running down closer to the end here, but I got a little segment we like to play with all our guests. It's called Wins and Whoopins. So over the course of your career, Tariq, from your first match till, we'll say, your most recent ACC title match, is there one win and one loss that stick out as memorable? as your best and worst, or just memorable for whatever reason? You overcame a challenge or something, and then like on the win side, and then on the loss side, like maybe just one of the worst whoopings you took, where a guy just beats the tar out of you, and you come off the mat, and you just feel like I don't even know how to wrestle. This guy just beat the crap out of me.
Yeah, I have several of those I can think of, but for the whooping side, I would have to say when I wrestled K Brock in Italy, and he just destroyed me, and I felt like I was the worst wrestler. Didn't know how to wrestle. I was like, oh my, like this just really happened. He went out there and did whatever he wanted, and I couldn't stop it. And I was like, wow, this is like I've never felt this or experienced this ever in my life. Like I don't know what just happened. Was I even wrestling? Well, like did this really happen? I had to like talk to myself. Like, did you really just go out there and lose like that? So that was definitely by far one of the worst matches I've ever wrestled, and just got whooped on. But the flip side of that, I'd say the most exciting or memorable win, I would have to say winning against him in the quarters would have to be the memorable win for me. Just because it was the notion of getting the revenge and turning it all the way around and showing that, hey, like I've learned and I've improved and I'm ready to wrestle, and let's go out there and compete. So I think those two are the worst loss I've ever taken and the most memorable win for me.
I mean, that win was like, not only did you beat him, but you majored him, right? I mean, he had teched you just a couple months earlier, and now all of a sudden you completely flipped it. What were you thinking, like warming up for that match, going to that match? Were you thinking about the Italy tech fall? What was in your head?
For that match, I really didn't think about the Italy match. I just wanted to be in the moment of, okay, this is my next opponent. I have to get ready for him. He's a tough opponent. You wrestled him before, so you have to be on your A game. You have to be hitting on all cylinders for you to come out with this win. And also, you just got to have fun. And that's what I did. I think I wanted to go out there and have fun and score points and then go out there and hit on the cylinders that I wanted to.
You most certainly did.
Yeah.
That was you out 18,000 people that day. So hats off to you, and best of luck moving forward, man. Congrats on the ACC title. We're gonna give you the last word though. Anything you want to say? Funny, serious, motivational, silly?
I would say something motivational, I guess. For the guys that have competed or are upcoming to compete, just remember, you guys go out there and have fun. It isn't the end of the world for you. You still have other things that you could do in life, but when you're in the moment, go ahead and have fun. And whatever happens. You got to shrug it off sometimes, but keep your chin up and go out there and compete for what you want and go take it.
Great advice. Great advice. Tariq the Freak, everyone. Hey, man, I appreciate you joining us today. Again, congrats on the ACC title, and best of luck in St. Louis here in a couple weeks.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yep,
Thanks,
have a great day.
Bye.
All right, man. Yeah, Tariq Wilson. I didn't even put that together until he started telling that story, like Cade and Cade.
Yeah.
What an incredible feat.
Yeah, that was incredible. I think that was part of why it was so, like, his run was so incredible, was not just as he, like, beating, like, really good guys, but that K Brock match in particular was so one-sided the first time, and then he turned it around.
Yeah. Man, that's going to do it. What a great show. Once again, just have these great guests. Wynn Michalak and ACC title. SoCon for Wynn and the Camels. And individual and ACC team title for Tariq the Freak, they call him. I know why. So,
yeah.
Any words from you before we get out of here, David?
No, I mean, I'm excited for conference weekend number 2. We're gonna be in the studio all weekend, keeping everybody up to speed on Big 10s and Big 12s, and we've got Mateo Pelicone coming up. I cannot wait.
I'm pumped.
Yep, and we may have another surprise around the corner, another event we may be picking up pretty soon too. So it's good
Find out
stuff.
soon.
Good stuff.
All right, that's going to do it. We'll be back tomorrow with my old coach, Brian Smith, head coach at Missouri. Look forward to talking to him and picking his brain and giving him a hard time. So for David Bray, I'm Mark Bader. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.